Each year, Abu Dhabi hosts one of the great international adventure races, the Abu Dhabi Adventure Challenge. This unique race takes place in the heart of the Middle East, in Abu Dhabi, one of the United Arab Emirates.
21 countries, 21 cultures are represented here, and this event is not only about sports achievements, but also about bringing cultures together.
It's the first time that a multi-sport race has hosted so many nationalities. 21 countries from 6 continents are here, and at the start everyone is getting ready to attack the race and trying to adapt to the climate.
The weather is here now is cooler than Singapore, but the sun looks like killing, so I have to apply more on this.
In my country, in Istanbul, a little bit colder than here. I think it's 9 degrees Celsius it was. But we will race, it can be cold or warm or hot. This is the adventure race.
It's fantastic to have such an international race because all the teams from different nationalities, we now get to see teams that we've heard about, teams that we've watched on television. We get to see all of those teams here, and I think just the mingling of all the different cultures and the languages just makes it a lot more fun, and the international aspect is a big draw card to coming to the race.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Abu Dhabi Adventure Challenge, go!
It's 8 o'clock in the morning on the coast road in Abu Dhabi city. It's the start of 6 days of racing, a discovery of the country situated between the Arabian Gulf, the desert and the oasis of Al Ain. It's a real sporting and human adventure that awaits our athletes. In teams of 4, they will have to show they have the mental makeup to meet every challenge if they want to complete this race. The test begins with a prologue of 40 kilometers of mountain biking, sea kayaking and running, an ultra-rapid section around the city of Abu Dhabi that sets a really hot pace for the race right from the start.
Their hospitality is amazing, the people are really friendly, and it's hot.
And it's a good opportunity to race abroad for the first time. See what race with the best in the world. Good.
The prologue is only a foretaste of the difficulties to come in the race. Between the sea, the desert and the mountains, the teams will travel as far as Al Ain, the birthplace of the Emirate of Abu Dhabi. Leaving the city of Abu Dhabi, the teams set off for Bani Yas Island for a mountain bike section, followed by a long kayak section in the Arabian Gulf that will last a day and a half. It's one of the major sections of this challenge, with 115 kilometers of paddling. On the 4th day, the athletes will discover the dunes of Liwa at the entrance to the vast empty quarter, where the teams will spend around 30 hours crossing the desert on foot. On the last day, the race will take place around the city of Al Ain and the mountain of Jebel Hafit. On the program that day, the athletes have running, rope activities and mountain biking before they finally reach the finish in the center of Al Ain. The course matches the exceptional level of the outstanding athletes lining up for the Abu Dhabi Adventure Challenge. The best teams in the world are here, and the battle for first place looks like providing a real spectacle. It's very rare in other competitions to have such a high level with as many nationalities together in the same race. So for them, it's a real challenge. They're going to be able to measure up against practically all the best teams in the world at the same time. So it's really exciting for them and a real challenge. Last year's winners of the race, the New Zealand team of Desert Islands, are starting as the favourite.
Everything about Abu Dhabi is different to where most of the teams come from. In New Zealand, we don't really have any deserts. In winter, it's as hot here as it is in the middle of the summer at home.
Yeah, it's a good start. There's a long way to go, though.
There's probably, 12 or 13 teams that are capable of being in that top 3. But it's probably going to be the teams that get it right, that don't make any mistakes, and that can keep all their team members healthy. That's going to be the team that comes out on top.
United States of America, baby! Seattle, Washington! Woo! Love it here. No rain, no snow. It's the best!
At the end of the prologue, two New Zealand teams are at the top of the table. The Desert Islands team has a comfortable lead of 3 minutes 20 seconds over the next team, Team New Zealand. In third place are the French team of Sport 2000 Weber and Outdry. After the prologue, the teams travel to Sabani Yas Island to get down to the serious racing.
Got them for the next 2 days, actually. The real racing's ahead yet. The hard stuff. Probably be pretty much a group ride tomorrow again, I think, for at least the lead teams, with it being a lot of flats on the island.
On day 2 we had started off with a bike ride. Again, it started with a bunch, so probably about the first 10k were very, very hard to get away of being on the flat, and there's a massive draft effect on the bikes, so you know, we just tried to stay near the front and stay out of trouble. One of the issues with the bunch riding is that it's very easy for people to lose concentration and just swerve to the side and take people out, so we were very mindful of just staying safe.
A 45-kilometre loop around Sabani Yas Island. With only 300 metres of altitudinal difference, this stage takes place at a very fast pace, while the changing terrain forces the athletes to remain very vigilant. Unfortunately, the Swiss team of Adco Fascinator wasn't able to avoid an accident. A few bruises, but worse still, a fractured wrist for Bernard wipes out any chance of victory for the team.
My wrist is probably broken. I don't know, I don't feel anything.
With its soft sand and a succession of roller coasters, this section proves to be a back-breaking and exhausting experience. The main attraction of this fascinating island is the presence of several thousand animals. Hectares of young trees provide the perfect habitat for gazelles or oryx, which can be found wild throughout the island.
Oh, this is great being here. Did you see all the animals running away? It's a blast.
More than a simple park, the island today provides a real sanctuary for species that have disappeared elsewhere.
We are on Sabani Yas Island, 250 kilometers off the west coast of Abu Dhabi. This is the legacy of His Highness Sheikh Zayed Al Nahyan. It started approximately 30 years ago. It's a couple of thousand animals that we have, with about 22 different species. The Arabian oryx is currently extinct from the wild, and we have one of the biggest populations in the world. People many years ago hunted them and sold the meat, and that's how it got extincted. And Sheikh Zayed knew that and then introduced the Arabian oryx to the island and started breeding. Adventure Challenge was a great opportunity for us. I think it was a great opportunity for us to host it and to be host of the second leg. And it was wonderful for Desert Islands to have such a big event happening on the island for us. It was good for the athletes and the competitors as well to be part of the wildlife.
At midday, the teams are ready to begin 115 kilometres of sea kayaking, a stage that begins with crossing the mangrove swamp of Sabani Yas Island. For the athletes, the main question is whether or not to use the sails.
We've got wind behind us now. We're going to go down to the first checkpoint. Coming up, we're going to be going into the wind. So we'll have to figure out something with the sails, put the sails up. And then also as we head to the island as well, we expect to have the wind coming straight into us.
Each of the two rival teams from New Zealand, Desert Islands and Team New Zealand, has opted for a different route.
Yeah, we're strong on the paddle. That's our strongest leg, so into the wind with no sails. So it'll be good when we get to go that way. But yeah, so we want the wind to go away.
On the sea kayaking stage, there was probably the first thing that we really had to think about was whether we were going to keep our sails up or not. because we started off going downwind, and then we essentially came right back on ourselves. And so you got a good advantage from going downwind, and then you had any sort of extra resistance coming back upwind slows you down, and we made the call to keep the sails up, and subsequently got caught by Team New Zealand.
At the end of the first 30 kilometres, the athletes stopped for the night on the atoll of Kirkham Island. The French team of Sport 2000 Vibram Outdry finished in the lead just ahead of Desert Islands. Using the sails turned out to be a good decision.
Yeah, I think actually the sails became quite useful. We were just going far enough off the wind that they gave us a good little push, and we weren't really going that much faster, but we were able to conserve quite a lot of energy. Yeah, happy, and now we have our own little desert island to stay the night on, so it's pretty cool.
The next day at 7 o'clock in the morning, the teams continue their crossing.
It's a big paddle today, 80 kilometers or so. We're supposed to have a tailwind, but so far there hasn't been much wind at all. So a lot of paddling. The Kiwis are going to be tough.
We just lacked a little bit of horsepower, really. We had Jay, who is from the States and lives in Colorado. They don't often get out for 80k kayaks. Yeah, he's really, really fast, talented athlete, but he's still really coming up and getting that hardness and that strength that you get with age. And
it's not very exciting when there's no waves, but yeah, today's probably going to be the hardest day, I think so.
When you're kayaking as well, you know, for most people it's probably their weakest discipline. You're using much smaller muscles than when you're running or biking, and it's just a sport that if you kayak long enough, it's going to become uncomfortable and potentially quite painful.
The gondoliers! Right now it's going well, but there are still quite a few stages before the end of the day. We'll just play it cool.
Just gotta make sure we keep drinking and eating. So we've been stopping sort of every hour or so, just for a couple of minutes, have a quick snack, keep going again.
After 8 hours and 3 minutes, Team New Zealand finishes the 80 kilometres in the lead, ahead of the Australians of ADCO Arrock and the other New Zealand team, Desert Islands. Richard's team finishes third but remains the overall leader, 2 minutes ahead of the nearest challenger.
We're pretty happy to get through in that sort of shape, but it'll definitely take a bit of recovering from that, but I think all the teams are going to be in the same boat, really. It's just a pretty hard thing to do.
After Murphy, it's another type of sea that the racers will have to contend with, a sea of sand. We're at the heart of the Rub al-Khali, meaning the empty quarter. This is the greatest extent of sand in the world. This desert of deserts is the birthplace of the Bedouin tribe, the Bani Yas, which use falcons to hunt for food in this hostile universe. At the moment, it's the falcon season. This begins around September and everyone prepares his birds. Obviously, we have a special way of doing this. We take them when they're very young and train them step by step. The falcon is very important for us. It's part of our heritage and is passed on between generations from father to son. Falcons were the source of revenue. In other words, the person who owned a bird could provide for the welfare of his family. But now it's become a pastime. Look at this. It's what we call a dart. We put it on the back of the bird and switch on the device. Look, you can hear it. Wherever the falcon goes, this device follows it. The bird's owners make sure that his bird is not suffering from any illness. Illnesses can be dangerous and can lead to the loss of the bird. With gaiters on their legs and plenty of sun cream, the teams are ready to attack the dunes of Liwa. 107 kilometers of racing that the athletes must complete in 30 hours.
It was definitely a very, very tough section, 120 km on your feet. There's not really any easy way to do it. The sand, the heat. And so we managed to get out of sync a little bit with the other teams, and I think that it worked pretty well for us, because when we had sort of a few more problems later on, and it meant that we didn't really feel the pressure to have to try and hammer ourselves to stay with the other teams. You know, it is always hard when you're doing multi-day racing, and sometimes the areas where you think you're going to have a strength, you end up not having a strength, you know, just due to other factors, and now we just have to hope that the legs come back. Just conserve a bit of energy. I'll get a bit of energy back.
Few men have dared defy this desert of deserts. Stretching more than 1,000 kilometers in length, it's a formidable terrain. But today, farmers still live in these arid expanses. When the camels are young, they don't go very far. But when they're fully grown, they can travel 30 or 40 kilometers alone without getting lost. Sometimes they go off for as long as 3 days and then come back here. I trust them. They never disappear. I have a herd of 90 female camels, and half are pregnant. In the morning I feed them and then milk them. Sometimes I travel with my herd in the desert, and I spend a lot of time watching them, making sure there are no problems. I feel good here. I love the desert and my camels, and I'm happy to do this job. I've been on this farm since I was 27 years old, and I don't want to do anything else. It's not like in Abu Dhabi city or some other place. Here there's no traffic, no people. It's quiet, peaceful, and relaxing. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and the teams are only halfway into the day's stage. As legs become tired, keeping a straight line is increasingly difficult.
We have walked for 6 hours, maybe another 10 hours. We hope, if we don't get lost. It's very tough because the sand is very soft. The feet sink in when you walk, so you need more effort, and it's very hot.
In addition, the teams must climb up and down gigantic dunes that can reach as high as 300 meters. It's very difficult. We don't really have any training for this. It's something we'll have to do again. I'll climb the stairs from morning to night, because that's what it's like climbing these dunes. It went very well, except that we didn't manage our water very well. And right now, we've been without water for half an hour. It's almost nightfall, and the teams are still going. Only the precious GPS has enabled them to find their way. For everyone, in the dark, it becomes very difficult to keep up the motivation.
Coming into the final 3 or 4 CPs, we ended up back with Nike and with Team New Zealand and Wilsa, and they really had an opportunity to, to put us out of first place. We were sort of suffering pretty badly, and they looked, a lot fresher than we did.
Yeah. There's Jay.
Just behind me.
At 3 o'clock in the morning, 6.5 hours sooner than expected, a group of 5 teams finishes the section. Among them are Desert Islands, Team New Zealand and Sport 2000 Vibram Outdry. All the teams are really tired, exhausted. I think that everyone there was ready to drop. That's why we stayed together at the end, a kind of common agreement, since nobody wanted to attack. The athletes will have to keep going, since there remains one last day of racing, this time around the garden city of Al Ain. Al Ain means the spring in Arabic and is the birthplace of the Emirate of Abu Dhabi. It's a very important town in the cultural heritage of the country. Al Ain represents above all the miracle of water which enable populations to cultivate dates thanks to 1,000-year-old irrigation systems. In the extensive palm groves situated in the centre of the city, many families carry on the tradition and still use these channels that are typical of the Arabian Peninsula. On the outskirts of Green Al Ain, the mountain Jebel Hafit rises to 1,000 metres, dominating the vast sandy plains below. Its light-coloured and crumbly rock makes climbing difficult.